Welcome to the Culture Shock Podcast on the Dynasty DNA Podcasting Network, where Big Culture Bob breaks down the 5 things that stood out this week in the NFL, the good, the bad, and the ugly of NFL and Dynasty Fantasy Football topics every week. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And here is your Culture Shock host, TJ Blake.
Welcome back, DNA Strand crew, to the newest episode of the Culture Shock here on the Dynasty DNA Podcasting Network. I'm your host, TJ Blake. You can follow me over on X at FFTJBlakeDNA. And as always, for his show, we're joined by the cultured one, Big Culture Bob Helfert. You can follow him over on X at Big E Fat Bob. Bob, I survived the expo, the strep throat from hell. I'm back almost 100% now. It was a terrible week, but I was able to get through it. Are you ready to rock? Because guess what, my friend? This Thursday, we have football back officially. Are you ready for that as well?
Ooh, I'm ready for some football, but I got a little PSA. I got to do a little public service announcement really directly to one person, Mrs. Shanuti. I just want you to be aware. It's nothing you got to worry about now, but a couple of unsolicited trips to Chicago, and you might got to worry about Mike and his afflictions for Mr. Loveland. I think Mike needs to worry about a different Loveland. He just got married. You just got married, Miss and Mr. Shanuti. Like, let's not talk so highly about Mr. Loveland. Maybe back off just a little bit. Like, again, if he goes to Chicago like more than twice, then you got to either cut it off or you got to find out what's going on, because he's got him a little palpitations for the Mr. Loveland.
Let me just say this, that's in reference to the YouTube short out now on the Dynasty DNA YouTube channel. Mike planting his flag for Colston Loveland as a Dynasty tight end 1. I knew Bob would love that video, Bob. I knew you couldn't wait to comment. It was the fact that
he kind of looked like he was sweaty and jittery about it. Like, it just looked like it was like it was inside of him all this. It was like weird.
I know you couldn't wait to get him on that one. I knew, he listens every show of the Culture Shock, so I know he can't wait to get on you on that one. So, Bob, I knew you had to comment, but football is back, and today you said that we got a good show lined up here. You have 5 things to help you pick your dynasty direction, help determine your dynasty direction, right? So, yep. There's different consequences when it comes to that, guys. Like when you're doing a startup draft, maybe when you're in season 2 or 3, right? Like you need to make a turn and stick that way. So I like the topic here today, Bob. The mind of a dynasty madman. You're always on top of it. But let me just say, let's start out with a little breaking news with Big Culture Bob. All right, Bob, here we go. Big news coming out of 49ers camp. A player you're very familiar with, Ricky Pearsall of the San Francisco 49ers, goes down with yet another season-ending injury. Bob, I guess we just want to get your take on Ricky Pearsall's dynasty future right now, the San Francisco 49ers wide receiver room overall, and what does it mean from a dynasty standpoint? This was kind of devastating news coming this early in training camp.
I think more or less this was the same injury that happened the last year or whatever, and they did, because it's a PCL, they decided to try and nurse it along, because apparently PCL repair is more difficult even than like the ACL repair and things like that. It's just, it doesn't take as well. So they were hoping that they could just give him time off and it would get better. Well, it hasn't. So now they're having to do a repair. I think they said a 9 to 12 month recovery at best, and that's just like, normal function, not necessarily athletic function. So I don't know. Like, this is a guy that went from me hoping that I had like a good wide receiver 4 fill in or something like that the last year, even hoping that he would come back and be healthy, to, if I have him on the bottom of my rosters, I'll wait and see if he ever does anything. But for the most part, if you don't see some kind of flash rookie year, some kind of step up from that flash the second year, some kind of blow up or whatever by the third year, you can almost write him off. And other breaking news, Jalen Polk decided to retire today. Similar type of situation, statistically, not health-wise. But, if these guys don't cut their teeth early, you got to do something special, or probably have like a list of, dirty laundry on the, the GMs or whatever to just stick around. Pearsall is definitely going all the way down to the bottom of my rosters and probably hitting the waiver wire. And if, I hear any good news about him, I might try it, but it's probably not going to happen.
So let me just ask you, Bob, rapid fire. Don't even have to give a huge explanation because I know we got to get into the bulk of the show. Would you consider just taking a 27 third if someone offered that, or would you just rather go down with the ship?
Oh, I think I'd take anything for him at this time. Like I said, he'll probably hit waiver wires for just about everybody. And at that point, by the time he gets even healthy, he's going to be up for the fifth-year option. And that's generally a pretty high dollar figure thing. So I can't even imagine that they would pay him for the fifth-year option at that point. Then he becomes a free agent. He's got to prove himself all over again. And if I remember right, he really didn't come into the league young. He wasn't old, I don't think, either, but he just wasn't, anything that's early, like a young guy.
For sure. I have to agree with you, right? If I could get a 27 third at this point, I'm on board with that, no problem. I'm like, you just take what you can get, cut your losses. I mean, look, I'm not saying that there couldn't be a possibility somewhere along the line, right? He gives you a high-end wide receiver 3, back-end wide receiver 2 type finish. He could potentially do that, but I'm not risking any kind of value on that. I'll just take the 27 third, cut my losses. And let me just say this, Stribling, right? The young kid Stribling there, Deshaun Stribling in the wide receiver room with the 49ers, stock has gone way up, right? Like if you have him and you drafted him, nicely done, right? And as far as Mike Evans goes, this further solidifies that, like, hey, man, until George Kittle gets back especially, this guy could absolutely play monstrous inside this 49ers passing attack and could be a really early season type of guy that could do a lot of damage. I'm not saying he couldn't do it down the stretch too, but I mean, just based off of lack of targets, everything that's going on with that team early, that could be huge for Mike Evans. So just keep that in mind. But huge news coming out of 49ers camp we had to mention. We will be monitoring all this stuff on all the Dynasty DNA episodes going forward, and we'll keep you up to date with what's going on best we can. But okay, Big Culture Bob. So today we're going to be doing 5 things to decide your dynasty direction. We talk about picking a way, going that way. What are the 5 things that will help you decide your dynasty direction? Let's go with the first thing you want to talk about, Bob, and we'll jump right into it.
Well, first and foremost, and generally how I do my, like I've told everybody, I will punt the first year, which generally means I'm going to punt the running back position the first year. It's like I got to look at the weight of each one of my rooms. If I can grade my rooms out and I've got, let's just say I've got 3 C rooms, right? 4 positions technically if we're not talking about IDP. If I want to go running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end, if I've got let's just say 3 C's and 1 B room, then I know I'm not competing. Like I have to know that, and I have to know that I'm going to punt. And at that point, I want to try and position myself to the bottom. And, that's just kind of how I would I started talking about running backs, and more or less it's like the weight of every room. Like you kind of want to look at all of them in a package. It's like if my overall roster grade is kind of C-ish, then I need to know that I'm not competitive. I need to go down. You really want strong QB play and you really want strong wide receiver play. And that's just unless it's a heavy tight end premium, and then maybe you can kind of balance out wide receiver and tight end. But you really want to be heavy at the premium positions and the ones that are the least volatile. Let's put it that way, because I think tight end and quarterback are the least volatile. Now they're very top heavy, both of them are. So that's going to have an influence on your room. But I want to grade my roster like top to bottom, and then I want to kind of average out that grade. If it looks like I'm a C roster team, then I have to know. Don't try and get excited because you have, oh man, I've got a roster where I got Josh Allen, and I'm trying to think of the wide receiver I have that's like I might have JSN and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like I got 3 guys, and we only start 9. And yeah, a third of my team is really good, but everything else is pretty much crap. Like I know that I'm still at the bottom. I got to figure out some way to either piece down off of Josh Allen, but Josh Allen is not a QB room make. It's only one guy. So you get the point there. I think just grade your rooms. And if you know that you're at the C level, then you need to just go ahead and drop to the bottom.
Right. And I mean, look, it all goes back to dynasty planning, dynasty strategy when you're doing startup drafts, right? We all like to do them differently. I know, like, I personally, I mean, I try to go for it, right? I'm different than Bob. Bob has his plans, the way he likes to do things. The way Bob's trying to do it, right, is he wants to go and try to win 3 or 5 times down the road opposed to winning once or twice right now, right? That's what he's doing. And that's what you got to understand when you're heading into a dynasty draft, guys. And that's what we're talking about, picking a direction. And Bob, I mean, speaking for me, I know you've probably felt this way a million times too. You might have started out a draft the first few rounds and you feel really good about your team, right? Then you get to about the 7th, 8th round and you're like, man, I just don't know if I like this team as much as I was thinking I was going to like it. You got to pivot quickly, right? Like if you really get caught in that bag of like, I don't know, should I go for it? Shouldn't I go for it right now? Like, you got to make that decision. But if you don't like where you're at, you could always say, hey, I'm going to take what I have right now and go the other direction quickly before I get too deep in this draft. But I'm just saying right now, like, there's 2 different ways to skin a cat when it comes to playing in dynasty leagues. Like, if you want to contend for it and go for it right now, make that your intention and go for it. But you have to go balls to the wall and, no excuses. Like, look at the Rams from an NFL standpoint. Like, that's what they do. They know they have a window right now, and they're not backing down, and I commend them for that, right? Maybe they don't win the Super Bowl. I think they got a great chance to, but I commend them for that because they are picking a direction, and they feel like, hey, we have a chance these next couple years, and then guess what? That window is going to close, so we better do it now. Same thing from a dynasty standpoint, guys. If you have a chance right now, go for it right now, and you stick that way. But if you want to try to do what Bob does, right, like, I mean, that's kind of a genius strategy is the way he wants to play. He's not going to invest in running backs heavily because he knows it's a volatile position. He wants to go with the wide receiver room, the tight end room, like you said, if it's tight end premium, right? You want to get your hands on quarterbacks. So that way, when you have 3 or 4 guys that could turn to absolute studs and you have that pillar of a wide receiver core and you have 2 very good tight ends and your quarterback room's pretty secure and safe, running back's the easiest position to find, in my opinion, right? Like, I mean, and not only that, right? Let's say you come away with your draft in 2027, you go the direction you're going, Bob, and, you're up towards the top of the draft in 2027, you have a good draft. Next year, you trade those 28 first, and then you turn your team into a real perennial contender that could win it for the next 3 to 5 years. That's when you pivot again, right? It's always fluid with Dynasty, right? You don't stay still. You don't stand in motionless spots. You got to pivot one way, pivot the other way, and, that's just the way it goes, right? It's just like basketball, right? You get in a trap, you got to pivot, right? You can't just stand there and let people knock the ball out of your hands, and you got to pivot quickly. So I like that, Bob. And it's just,
let me ask you that, like, when you're talking about knowing you're ready to compete, do you need to be a top 4 team halfway? Like, where's your window?
It has to be top 4. It has to be. I mean, that's just because, let's be honest, where's the middle, right? The middle's always 5 to 8, right? It's right in there. I mean, and then the bad teams are on the back end of the 4 and the good teams are on the upper end of the 4. I got to be in that upper echelon or right there. Like, if I'm the 5th team from being the best team, I better have a real good feeling that, I'm going to be able to get those pieces that could bump me up, because it just depends too, right? Like, you know how it is too, Bob. In some leagues, you have guys that are just way up here and you can't catch them. Like, you could look at their roster and you're like, there's no chance in hell I could compete with this guy, right? But there could be a scenario where there's 3 or 4 teams that are kind of just like, right, all kind of together, and you're right there. Then it's like, that's whenever you make your move. But you got to understand roster strength and what you're up against.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to choose my direction to that's kind of where I was, just judging your whole roster or whatever. I kind of like to look at it and like studs, like if you're starting 9 and you've got 3 studs, you're probably not there yet. Right. You know what I mean? If you've got like 4 top, I don't know, out of 9 starters or whatever, let's say over half of your team is top 35 players, and I'm just taking rough numbers here. I've never really thought it out as far as I just kind of get a feel for it. When you look at your roster, you got a feel for whether or not you're a competing team or not. And again, what TJ said, you got to judge it against the other teammates, but I think that's more of another topic. But in this aspect, like if you don't have guys that you feel are going to compete every week, then that's just another one of those red flags in my situation where you're like, man, I'm looking at it like, yeah, I don't have 5 studs. Like half my roster is not studs, or at least top 35 players. Like, and I'm just going to talk about how I build my own roster, especially in start 9 or whatever. Like I was talking to Cher about this the other day. Like my wide receivers, I want 2 1s as my wide receiver 1 and my wide receiver 2. And I mean like top 12 guys. Like I just mentioned that I have a lineup that has JSN and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, is that hard to get sometimes? Yes. But a lot of times you can luck into that. Like I got another league where I drafted JSN in the first round and I got Justin Jefferson in the second round due to this whole conundrum at wide receiver. Do I feel like I'm still a super competitive team because I think Justin Jefferson's going to bounce back? Yes, I do, because I just believe that wide receiver room is going to help carry me to a certain point. I want to have like at least half of my starting lineup be top 35 offensive players. That's just how I play. Like I want to have X amount of my top end players be ranked so high.
No, yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? And we talk about value. I mean, I'm like you. Like, if I'm drafting for the future, I'm always going to go value at the positions of the most valuable, right? I mean, like we talk about that with the receivers and tight ends and quarterbacks. Like, it's just much more valuable than running backs. But, yeah, I mean, looking at it like this, Bob, this kind of draft this year, to me, there's a lot of value at wide receiver, especially in these later rounds. Like, and, you know, honestly, I've had builds like you mentioned earlier where you fluke out, you maybe take running backs later and you still have a winning roster because your team is so good because you took advantage of all that value and you can start all these guys in the flex and your wide receiver pool is so deep and you got good quarterback room and a strong tight end room, right? Like, I mean, you could honestly, in theory this year, take like a Rico Dwaddle and like some of the Chicago backfield, and if you have some of these high-end receiving talents and tight end talents, you could have a chance to win still, even having that running back room be kind of, you know, a little more sketchy. Like, it's definitely possible. But I'm just looking at it like this, right? I'm taking advantage of the value at wide receiver this year as much as I can. I mean, I'm the kind of person, like I said, I like to try to kind of be more balanced, but hey, don't threaten me with a good time. If people are overdrafting running backs, I see a huge value in the wide receiver room. I'm taking advantage of it. But, yeah, I mean, I like to get as many of those type players as I can, and guys that, like, you know, you mentioned Harold Fannin, right? Like, he's a great guy for a team that's looking to come up through the next couple of seasons and be a top team, because he's a guy that has high-end talent and is kind of getting overlooked a little bit because of the situation, right? Like, that's another thing we got to look at. There's going to be a lot of talent that's getting overlooked because of bad situations, and, hey, maybe, just maybe, down the road, that guy could turn into a perennial beast for you, and it's all because 1 year. It's what have you done for me lately? People don't want to rely on that because, look, it's going to be a rough year in Cleveland. We talked about it, and hey, if he could be a top 10 tight end this year in Cleveland, like say he finishes as tight end 9, there's going to be people that are going to be disappointed by that, Bob. But, like, to me, I think that's damn good considering what he has around him and what he's dealing with, right? So I'm just saying, hey, take advantage of the value. Take advantage of the players that are going to be on teams that aren't going to be so great. If you're building for the future, I mean, them guys could turn into studs, and you got them just because people didn't want to draft them this year right now.
Yeah, I mean, the on top of that is kind of what I'm getting. Like, if you have that top 35, you know, you got 5 or something guys that are in the top 35, and even if none of them are running backs to go along with the first topic, at that point, you still want to go shop, right? Don't ever be afraid to go shop. And yes, the 27 class is mighty, right? But a lot of that values wide receiver value. So I've got a roster where I feel like my wide receiver room is pretty thick. You know, it's pretty studly. But I've also acquired like 527 first. So I'm like, man, I think I can move X of these to put me in a position, you know, better my running back room, still compete, and still have an opportunity to get Jeremiah Smith. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's going to be the prize of next year's draft, regardless of how good the quarterbacks look or come out. I still want Jeremiah Smith probably over everybody. But that's just kind of what I was getting at there.
Well, just look at it like this, Bob. I mean, you know this just as well as I do. How coveted this 2027 class is, and Jeremiah Smith's a huge, huge part of that. I mean, if you end up with that 101 this year, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want that pick. And I'm not saying to trade it. All I'm saying is like you should receive some really nice offers for that pick, right? So that you have all the cards. So, like, I guess what I'm saying is, as I'm more of a contending type of a builder, right? Like, this year is a year you could look at it like, if you want to go young and you want to start out on the dynasty slope of being bad and working your way up, you know, this is the year you probably want to look at that, right? Because, I mean, you're talking about a class where you could just get an absolute king's ransom for this pick, or you could just take the player and build around him as your big building block, whether it be Jeremiah Smith or one of these quarterbacks. Because, look, I mean, let's be honest. It should be Jeremiah Smith. But, I mean, year's a long time. You know, a lot can happen between now and then. So we always got to be a little bit careful. But I just think that, personally, Bob, I think that you're right. I think this time, if you're going to go dynasty, go a little bit younger, and you're not really worried about, hey, I don't have to win it this year, this is a good year to maybe look at a direction like that if you're considering it.
Yeah, and I think my third topic is kind of along the lines of if you've got a relatively aging roster, and there's still good players out there that are aging, but you can't seem to move to get younger. Like, you can't seem to move into, you know, you've got CMC and you've got this, and you know, I'm just trying to think of older players, obviously, like Mike Evans, Devontae Adams. Of course, they're like on their last leg, but like A.J. Brown or whatever. And yes, he's 29 years old. He's probably got time left in the league. If you've got Mahomes, you know, as your starting QB, and obviously we think Mahomes has still got a lot of time left, so don't hear what I'm not saying. But like if you're on the older end of the stick, you really either need to try and push forward or good luck getting out of it. You know, your league mates may really stick it to you. If you can't move those players and you're not being competitive, you just might be in a really bad spot. But you got to try your best if you've got that, you know, that aging solid team. I typically don't ever have those. I would imagine I would call this the tie question. You know what I mean? The tie room or mark or whatever. Like, I would imagine that he's probably sporting teams with like Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor, who are both very good. They're just, one of them is on the age cliff, just fighting his life to stay, you know, a tread. You know, he's running like lightning on the edge of the cliff, because I don't think Derrick Henry is going to fall off yet, but you know, one slip and he might just tumble off the side of the cliff. But then like Jonathan Taylor's really close. Like, we got to start thinking about, is this the beginning to be the end? And of course, Indianapolis is not a very good team. You know, everybody and their mom wants them to trade Jonathan Taylor. We got to remember, NFL teams are not our fantasy teams. That just doesn't happen as much as it does in fantasy. But then on top of that, like, you know, Mahomes is coming off of a pretty decent little knee injury, and half of his points last year came off running. Well, he's not going to be running as much this year, but they still got a pretty bad offensive line. He's got to try and pick apart the defenses, and he's only really got Rashid Rice. You know, you got to kind of look at your roster and judge whether or not these are 3 to 4 years down the road assets, or if they're like, I need to win now or my whole team's going to fall apart and I'm going to have nothing with it. That's one of those situations where I'm like, I got to push. Whatever it takes to push, I need to push.
Well, now that's a good point, Bob, because I think you're right. Like, on the spin cycle of what we talked about, wanting to get these 27 firsts and Jeremiah Smith and things like that, right? Maybe if you wanted to go that direction, we couldn't blame anybody. Like, if you are a contending team, are people going to part with those picks as easy, you know, for those players that you mentioned? I mean, that could be a problem for a lot of these older rebuild teams out there. So, like, I'm like you, Bob, and I think that you're going to have a vast, big gap of the dynasty community of people that are going to be like, hey, what should I do here, right? Should I go for this? Should I hold what I have? But if you hold what you have, you're volatile as far as like, okay, you might not get anything back in these assets in return. So like, yeah, you better, And some years ain't so bad, right? But this year it could be bad, and I think that's something that people really got to be thinking about as we sit here today, because Ty has had a lot of teams like this, right? They're nuclear as far as the star power. He's winning right now. You mentioned his rosters, and then in about 4 years, right, it's time to kind of retool a little bit, and he does it better than anybody. But the problem is this year could be a tough year to retool. So just looking at it from that standpoint, I think that, if you do have one of them rosters that have the Christian McCaffreys, that have the Derrick Henrys, and you have the average age of 26, 27 on your dynasty roster, you better pick that direction and say, am I going to go for this one more time? And honestly, I think that's what I would do, Bob. You mentioned the fact of, you better do something. Like, if you can't trade these players and you can't get the first and stuff like that in a fair compensation back for these players, I think I would just push my chips in, right? Like, as long as I knew my team had a legitimate shot, I would push my chips in one more time. And I love the 2027 draft class. But, you can't get stuck with nothing. Either go win it now or you're done. I mean, that's it. And the thing is you could also get to the rebuild process with the accelerator a lot quickly that way, right? Like, you trade your first this year, say you win it or you get close to winning it, and whether it happens, you don't have a 27 first, well, next year your team could be really bad, right? And that could be good, because then you're getting back up to the top of the draft board again. So I just think that if I was one of them teams that were caught right now, and I was sitting there and I'm like, do I go for this one more time? But, oh, man, I really don't want to trade draft capital. Maybe I should trade my players, and nobody wants to take them. This is the worst thing you can do, is just sit there. Just go ahead and go for it, and we'll see what happens. Do you agree with that? Because I think that's the way I would approach it.
If you can win or even come in second place, and you can cover your next 2 years or whatever fees with what you won, then yeah, you got to push. And yes, I think that if I think that I'm a back four team no matter what, I'm picked 12, 11, 10, 9, right? If I'm any one of those options or whatever, and I trade my first this year, I probably wasn't. I mean, yes, I think the player will still be decent at 9, but losing one player for you to get into the first or second place is worth the shot. Right. You almost got to do that. And this is a class where you can at least sell it high. Like, oh man, and go to the team that looks like it's clearly punting. If they have anything of real value, then great. If not, go to the second team. Keep working your way up from the bottom. Don't just go to the first team and accept whatever you can get for a first. Go get a good player. And no matter how high we are on this class, there's still bust, right? No matter how high we are on this class, there's still players that could end up in crappy spots. I mean, look at this year's draft. Not only were the players not great, the ones that were quasi okay landed in garbage spots.
Right.
So no matter how much we like the players coming out next year, guess who's going to be at the top of the draft? Those garbage teams again. Arizona, Las Vegas, Cleveland, the Jets, Miami.
You sound excited about that, Bob.
Oh my gosh, they're all going to be at the top of the draft again. And I swear, if somebody ruins Jeremiah Smith, I probably am going to have to either retire, or I won't retire, but I'm legitimately just going to, I'll throw things, and that's just how life is, because I get all upset and curmudgeon-y about things. But it's dumb. Cleveland, I'm just painting this picture in my head. Cleveland's going to trade back with Jacksonville. Jacksonville's already got Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, who everybody loves, and Travis Hunter, who can't, he's going to be the second coming of all this, and let's trade up and go ahead and get Jeremiah Smith to throw into that mix, and get 4 targets a player, whatever. It's idiots. So I think that at a certain point, man, you have to know that I'm pushing in.
Right.
And again, I just, and if you got quality running backs and you got quality depth that, that are all on this precipice of they could either have it 1 or 2 more years, or they could be done after this, you kind of got to go. You just have to go.
let me just say this, Bob, and closing on this one. Like, to me, I've always used the phrase Dynasty's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Mm-hmm. And we talk about that a lot, and it does mean a lot. But I also say it's a lot more like chess than it is like checkers, right? In a situation like this, you might have to sacrifice a knight to get a checkmate opportunity, right? Like, I mean, that's where it goes. And all I'm saying is, and this is for everyone out there, like, I'm not telling these teams in the middle to do anything drastic, whatever, don't go ahead and trade a first and, get a player that ain't going to help you much anyway. But like you said, Bob, if you are a top 4 team in your league and you are worried about your team, you can't trade your players, I'm just going to double down and I'm going to go for it one more time, right? And hey, guess what? I'll try to, like you said, get first or second right now. And if that doesn't happen, then hey, guess what? I'll be picking up high in 2028, and I'll start rebuilding from scratch. And then maybe I can trade some players in this coming off season, right? So heading into the 2027 draft, heading into this season and going into the off season, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be hesitant to trade. I really believe that. So all you can do is try to play chess. Be very lethal with what you're doing. But just know, hey, tomorrow's a new day. I can make another move. So I like that, Bob.
Yeah, and never let a bad trade stop you from making another trade. Number 4, and I think we may have hinted on this already. If you've got a team that's an absolute juggernaut, and you don't even think that your team has got to be, even if you're in that top 4. Well, I don't want to say top 4, but like if you don't think you can get number 2 in a league where you can make money back, like I'm not opposed to be like, hey, my team looks like number 4 or number 5, but there's like one team or 2 teams that are clearly juggernauts. I'm just going to go ahead and try and trade my way to the bottom. And I know that's a defeatist strategy that a lot of people look at and they don't like it, but TJ and I probably completely differ on this point. And I know that Tashara and I completely differ and I know Ty and I completely differ on this point. I am a die to live another day. It's not die to live another day, whatever the phrase is. It's like, you get out of the way, you escape to live another day. You can come back and fight this fight later on, and this class is one that if you hit on the right couple of players, then you might be cooking with gas. So like at that point, try and snake oil salesman with the guy at the top. Like if you've got Derrick Henry and he's got TreVeyon Henderson, let's say, maybe you could, hey, I'll give you Derrick Henry that's going to help you win this league, hands down. TreVeyon Henderson's in a committee, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But like if you can do that and make the teams at the top older while pushing them higher, and you kind of trickle down and you get into a place where you're getting better draft capital and you're getting younger players and so on and so forth. You don't screw your nucleus up, but like when you do that, it gives them far and away better teams like a false sense of security. Like, oh, I'm definitely winning this year. Not only do I have, I got Bijan and I've got this guy and the guy's going to trade me Derrick Henry and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And, running quarterback, this guy, Lamar Jackson is somebody I'm not very high on this year, but like, that's me. I mean, he could end up setting the world on fire, but I don't trust that system I don't know what that system's going to be yet. First off, they've only got Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, and I feel like I'm getting into player takes all of a sudden. But like, I just don't. I'm not trusting what I see from Baltimore yet. I don't know what it's going to be like. All that to say, like if you can push older players toward the top and you get younger as you kind of fall down, then you're kind of winning. Let's just talk like the top 5-ish QBs. We know that like Drake May is going to have a tougher schedule this year, likely to not produce like he did last year. Caleb Williams is going to have a tougher schedule this year, likely to not produce as well as he did last year. So if you're high on Trevor Lawrence, he's going to be playing a tougher schedule this year, likely that he's not going to do as well as he did last year. But those are like 3 guys that if you could move, say, Lamar Jackson into one of those guys, or another aging guy. Like if you had Josh Allen and you could get one of those guys and a huge plus, oh my Lord, I think that's cooking with gas. But, a lot of people don't want to get rid of Josh Allen. They just think that, the next 15 years are going to be amazing. And I don't know that I agree with that.
Let me just say, Bob, though, this is really smart from the point of we talked about how hard it might be to acquire draft capital, right? Like this is a year maybe you can't acquire draft capital. And if you are one of them teams in the middle, this is kind of genius on your part of okay, at one token, you are taking a risk, and yes, you're getting rid of points, which will help you get up to the higher point of your draft board, which is good, but you are taking the risk of getting a young player that could maybe turn into nothing, kind of like a baseball trade, right? Like a prospect move, right? Mm-hmm. We see that a lot in baseball. But at the same time, as you said, you're taking those players. Yes, they're going to help a couple of the teams at the top of the board, your Derrick Henrys, especially running backs, right? You're going to get them players there, and they're going to age out, right? So that will hurt those teams, as you said, going forward too, from that standpoint. But you mentioned TreVeyon Henderson. That's a great example, right? So people were kind of like, man, what should I do? What should I do? If you give a contending team an option like that, a tantalizing option, sometimes they will pull the trigger on that, right? So that's a good trade example. Pearsall Injury's another one, right? We talk about some of these young guys. Look, and I get it. I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, Pearsall Injury's going to be the guy. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But, look, there's a risk factor involved, no doubt about it. But, if he were to explode and be around a top 10-ish type running back, that's a good piece of business is what you just pulled off right there. And even if he isn't, right, still a running back too. And, I look at it hey, you know what? I got something. I got points off my team that moves me up closer to the top of my draft board. Things just go better when you make moves like that and take risks whenever you can't get draft capital. But when you aren't getting draft capital, go young, take those chances. I think that's a smart move there, Bob. And, it just kills two birds with one stone. Like you said, when you're talking rebuilding and going a different direction, it's never popular, right? Because people always want to win. Win. That's why we play. We want to win. But, as we mentioned, this is a game of chess, Dynasty. And if you don't get innovative and you don't think and you don't get ahead on things, just because you have a good roster today don't mean you're going to have a good one tomorrow. And you better start preparing for different things and getting yourself in different positions. So taking a chance on them type of players, smart move. I like that, Bob, if you can't get the draft capital. All right, Bob, last one. What do you have for us?
Okay, so I think the best way to say this is if you're a team that is overly invested in players that can't manage to stay healthy, then you either know you're not a contender or you need to move them away to get into pieces that'll help you contend. So one way or the other, you need to get rid of those players on your team. There's a lot of players that are starting to prove to be unhealthy. The aforementioned Ricky Pearsall we talked about earlier, Jonathan Brooks with 2 ACL tears. Yes, he looks okay in camp. I haven't heard that he's done anything new to get hurt, but 2 ACL tears is plenty for me to stay away from. And then, we've got, I'm trying to think of some other player off the top
Christian
of my
Watson.
Head. Christian Watson is a great one, because I think Ty even said never Christian Watson or whatever. The guys on your team that you've lost faith in, one way or the other. Clearly they're a decent player, but they don't have space on my team, or even when I need them in a flex spot, like Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams is a good home run bet, right? You could have him on your lineup, and if you are a big underdog or whatever, for whatever reason or whatever, and you need a big home run swing, you put JMO on the bottom end of your flex, and that's like a potential for you to blow up. But I don't want to put that guy in my lineup every week. You know what I'm saying? Here's one. TJ underwear slapping player, Xavier Worthy. I don't know what to call him. The opposite of a jacket wearer. TJ slaps him with his underwear. The Xavier Worthy character. Nobody's real excited about that guy. Now, if he comes out the first week and he has 9 targets, and second week he's got 8 targets, then maybe they've turned the corner with Xavier Worthy. But they're going to have to show me something before I've got any faith in that player. And at that point, sell them on any kind of hype you can. If you've lost faith in them, get yourself to the bottom. Or if you can swindle people into good players, other players that are TJ jacket holders, let's just put it that way. Like if you can take Xavier Worthy and get Jacoby Myers, you might still be able to compete with Jacoby Myers, and that, like Michael Pittman losing all the value he's lost is retarded because he's clear. I don't care about DK Metcalf. That dude can eat all the Skittles he wants. I don't think that he's necessarily going to be the wide receiver one there. First off, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers can throw it that far down the field, but I digress. So that's players that either A, are injury prone and still have some hype, ship them players away. Get points off your roster. Oh my God, especially, I didn't even think about this till just now. If you're in a best ball league and you need to go to the bottom, get all the points off your roster you can, because anytime some dude blows up, it's going to hurt your opportunity to fall down to one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, Bob, I love this one, right? Because, with Ricky Pearsall was the prime example of this. I know Teixeira put a poll on Facebook about, okay, which underwhelming wide receiver 2 do you have the most faith in to bounce back? He won that poll over guys like, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Coker, different people, right, that he had listed. And it just shows you, what you could have potentially gotten. And now you're nothing. You got nothing there. And it's it's now or never, because they've proven it to us. The leopard never changes their spots. And sometimes it just sucks, right? There's guys like Tajay Spears. I like the film. Guy can't ever stay on the field. Kendre Miller with the Saints that time when he played with them. Yeah. He showed a little bit of flashes when he did play, but the guy could never stay healthy. And that's just what it comes down to, guys. We talk about it all the time, best abilities, availability, and you cannot base your whole roster. And, there's nothing worse that we talk about roster cloggers, right? We don't want that as a roster clogger. Well, these guys are worse than that because, they're an IR spot clogger, too, on top of it. They're just not a roster spot clogger. They're an IR spot clogger. There's someone on your team that's taking up space that ain't going to do anything for you that's going to be significant. Yeah, okay, maybe 1 out of every 4 seasons or something. I know Christian Watson, we brought him up, but okay, you get a couple games where it's real nice. Is it worth that? Is it worth the aggravation? No. Look, I take them players, I package them into other pieces, like how you said about Xavier Worthy. Get them off your team now. I just think that that's a smart move. Look at Cam Scadaboo, right? I know the guy's only played 1 season. I know it's a horrific injury, but look what he's doing. He's doing backflips right now. He's showing you what his life's like, how he is. I'm not betting my team on that. I'm not going to sit there and hold him on my roster whenever I could probably get something decent right now, right? If I get something decent right now, get it. If something happens, he comes out and gets another catastrophic injury, the value is completely in the toilet. James Conner was that guy for a number of years, Bob. How about of a big of a letdown has he been, right? I'm not saying he didn't have a decent season or two from time to time, but the fact that he's never healthy, it just isn't good. And that's what we talk about, sucking teams down into the middle of your dynasty leagues. That could do it quicker than anything, right? Whenever you got guys going down, and then that's going to pull you down to the middle.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to add, too, is watch how things get hyped up. A lot of people think Christian Watson, he got that big contract, blah, blah, blah. Go look at the contract. It's really like a 1-year prove-it deal. If he could stay healthy, they'll probably renegotiate again. It's fool's gold. You know what I mean? He's going to get quite a bit of money this year, but if he doesn't, live up to snuff, he probably has gone out of Green Bay. Whatever, So, and do the opposite. I just really thought about this. Do the opposite. Go buy guys that you believe in their talent that are hurt, like Tucker Kraft.
Right. And don't have those histories and patterns of, long injuries over and over again. And, that's a great point, Bob, because look, 1 season for Tucker Kraft and everybody thought it's like an epidemic, right? But that's just not how it's been. It's been 1 season. So just look at the history of these players, guys, and it ain't just injuries. It's guys that have not proven anything that still have hype. I'm talking Alec Pierce. I'm talking Xavier Worthy. I'm just done, right? I'm done with them players. Luckily, I don't have any of them rostered, really, but if I did, I'd be moving them because there's still value there, and, that'd be great. Maybe I'll just take over an orphan with them teams just so I can move them. That would be awesome, man. TJ's orphaned of misfit toys. They're all going out the back door. you know, how Rudolph saved them and, you know, took them home for Christmas. I would just throw them out into the ICC. Give me the picks for them players right now. But let me tell you, Bob, good episode. You know, the spirit of the start of the NFL season. Hall of Fame game this Thursday. You know, everyone's going to be looking forward to that. Football is officially back. We're on the clock here at Dynasty DNA because we got a lot going on, and we'll be with you guys every step of the way. If you guys are enjoying the content on Spotify, Apple Pod, Stitcher, Amazon, any of the big podcasting platforms, and you haven't yet, please follow and 5-star the show. If you are enjoying it, it extremely helps. We so appreciate it. Check out Dynasty DNA on YouTube, TikTok, X. I mean, we're all over the place. X at Dynasty DNA _ Instagram. We'd love to have you join us on all them platforms. All kinds of great conversations and communities over there as well. Listen, I know I speak for the cultured one when I say we hope you guys have a great start to your Monday. Hope it goes well. Hopefully it's put a smile on your face. Football is back, baby. We'll see you all on the next episode of The Culture Shock.